Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to Sparxe' STKE event presented by Joke. Hope you're all doing well. We are back to stream another match. This time it is going to be a pretty spicy one. It is going to be our first seed versus our 7th seed in the winner's bracket. It's going to be the Gauntlets, Nathanial versus Mania. The two players that have absolutely been destroying their opponents in the bracket, and now they are gonna face off together to see who is gonna punch their second place, at least in the bare minimum, punch second place in this tournament, and who will be dropped down to the losers bracket in the losers grand finals. As always, my name is Zara Sunday, commentating along with me, gonna be none other than Sparky. How's it going?
It's going absolutely fantastic. A little bit under the weather this weekend, but nothing was going to stop me from seeing the winners finals, the only winners bracket match of the weekend. And like you mentioned, two just absolute juggernauts of this key mode so far. Nathanial, who knows no equal, our number 1 seed, and Mini Egg, somebody who's basically had what has been seen as, at least in my eyes, a meteoric rise from when they first started back, I believe around Joke 2. My history didn't go far back enough to remember if they were in Joke 1, but basically from when they started to now, they have basically eclipsed everybody else in this tournament with regards to overall skill. And this is probably going to be like the first true test of their overall capabilities, because nobody has been able to touch Nate in terms of overall proficiency on all of these map pools so far.
Yeah, only 1 point has been given up in Nathaniel's favor, and that was against another gauntlet in this tournament, Era Basil. They have also absolutely dominated the scene, and we are just completing the trifecta of game modes here. What have we seen this? Have we seen a catch the beat warm-up?
We haven't. I don't think we've seen a catch warm-up in the Joke series.
We've seen Tycho.
Ever. We've seen Tycho. We've seen Standard.
Tycho, Standard, Mania. So we've completed everything pretty much.
Nice. Okay, have you had this for your bingo card from the start of this series? Congratulations. You win. You can collect your prize.
Yeah, mark catch the beat on your bingo cards, ladies and gentlemen.
So, okay, well, it's the warm-up, and to be fair, also uses 2 keys. Yeah. If you don't count the shift, the zoomy button, also, whatever that is. I don't play catch that often.
Also, can we just acknowledge that how big the seals are in the top left corner?
Oh yeah, they're just towering over everything. They're the
all-seeing. They're the all-seeing. They are watching down from the heavens on these players on Catch the Beat. Eyeing their every move.
They are blessing the players right now.
The fruits are raining down from the seals.
They're the ones throwing them.
Yeah. Even though some are completely throwing on the right side of the screen, seals can throw that far, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think this is just a Nate flex, seeing that they are a very proficient catch player. Mini Egg not too far behind, all things considered, I imagine. They don't play this game mode all that often, and being able to maintain a plus 70% ratio or accuracy on that is crazy. But I think that was the second warm-up. I think you started the first one off screen before we started here, so get into the rolls.
Funny enough, that was the same warm-up that was used against Zubin and Kaleipora from Zubin's side, I believe. And heading into the rolls, Nathaniel rolling a 29. And while that's going on, Minieg has had a insane run throughout this tournament. Like, look at that seeding. They're in the winners finals. And seed 7, they have towered some of the most threatening players in this tournament. And the most notable one being, as I mentioned earlier, Kaleipora, winning in a tiebreaker against them. That is no easy task, and now look at them. They are in the hot seat against arguably the best, well, I guess statistically the best player, the first seed of this tournament. Are we going to see another upset? That's the question that everyone's asking. And I mean, these two players are insanely good at the task at hand. So I think it's going to come down to just, can Miniegg match up Nathaniel on ratio is what's going to come down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really that's the question Miniegg needs to answer in this match, because like you mentioned, winner of this match, guaranteed top 2, winners grand finals. Gonna wait to see everybody else kind of duke it out below them to see who is actually up to the task. And I mean, with the players that are left, I mean, everybody in their own right can make it to that grand finals match. It's just how the road they take to get there is going to be very different. And as we get through the bans, it looks like SV gets removed. Of course, we're starting to reach those points where it's like, if you don't have the time to learn the SV, it's just easier to get rid of it than dedicating time when you have all these other really hard maps to get through. And LN3 gets banned out in response by Miniegg. And they're going to go for Rice 4 to start things off here.
Yeah, gonna aim for a bit more technical-based chart, going off of the patterns of past matches. I know for past maps, Rice 4 is normally the more tech-based pick with the really awkward snappings, very, very tricky flams, trills, mini jacks, pretty much the whole 9 yards. And also the fact that this is mapped by Niv, I know I've said this a ton, but Niv definitely is one to step out of the usual mapping format and just kind of try to be as experimental as possible with the task at hand when it comes to charting, which can lead to some very difficult maps, and this is definitely no exception. 5 stars and you're only given 2 keys, and this is a Rice pick as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Very, very experimental with their charting style. Really does lend itself to some really difficult stuff, and we have seen it every time we've seen Niv maps throughout this tournament. They are usually, I'd say, about like at least a half step up of everything else in comparison. So let's see how the players do. They are going to go into this first map. Stays a best of 11 format, so first player to 6 points will be moving on to that winners grand finals, and the loser awaits the winner of the next match after this,
which is Zubin versus Basil, a rematch, which is going to be exciting. But here we go with the match. Both players hitting that opening, and here come the all so familiar, very tricky technical parts of the chart. That very fast mini jack on that right side. Both players opting for mirror, maybe some of these patterns, like these very awkward jacks, probably just a bit too awkward for both of these players to kind of hit with on maybe their right or left, so opting for mirror. But right now, as we hit the first third of the map, Nathaniel ahead by just a tad bit, mainly off of probably Miniegg dropping a few more 200s than probably what they anticipated for. But we just began this map. There is still a map to go, so no need. Oh, but there's a break from Nathaniel!
Yeah, first organic break from Nathaniel, going to give the lead over to Miniegg, who has been able to stay within striking distance in terms of the accuracy. With half the map still left to go here, a break coming through here. The players going to see their scores, going to see where they stand overall. Miniegg going to see that they're still holding on to the FC. Nathaniel broke. And now the kind of mind games begin. Do you start hyper-focusing on the accuracy, or do you just try to hang on and hope for a slip-up from the other side? Miniegg dropping another couple of 200s in that sequence, transitioning out, and then back into the next drop. Things get really hard to manage. A lot of really compressed bursts, handled beautifully, as both players take some damage to their accuracy, and Miniegg expands this lead off the back of still holding on to this FC. 21,000 points to the good with a quarter map left to go.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not much map left to go. Nathaniel, on those very fast flabs, they did find a plethora of 200s and maybe even some 100s rushing that section, while Miniegg did find their fair share, but just wasn't enough in contrast to what Nathaniel got. And I mean, the accuracy difference is huge between these two. Even that break from Miniegg, wait, that lead is starting to shrink in, but I don't think there's enough time.
No, it's
And
not.
Nathanial finds a break. Both players missing at the end, but it's not going to matter. Mini Egg gonna take the first point of this match by a pretty comfortable amount.
Yeah, 34,000 points on a map like that, especially with the caliber of these two players, definitely does not go understated. Nate going to restart their client. Maybe some stutters, maybe some lag spikes attributing to some of those misses. It is very rare when we do see them miss. I mean, with how hard these charts are getting, it doesn't surprise me if even the tiniest little stutter can throw off even the best performers. So Mini Egg winning their first point here on their first pick with Nate up to pick. Gonna be interesting to see what they decide to go for here. Do they opt to dive down to that lower half of the map pool? Or do they go for maybe the speed charts? Something, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, both these players are very capable of swinging performances across this map pool.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of those cases where you really don't know what you want to go for, and Nathaniel gonna opt for the first speed pick, and it'll be beyond by Lime Speed 1. In contrast to the other speed pick we have, this one I think is a bit more forgiving, I would say. Not as physical as Speed 2, but it definitely has its sections. It definitely makes sense that Nathaniel wants to go for this, as maybe they have their client issues out of the way, maybe they had some lag, maybe some hardware issues. Hopefully that's settled. This is definitely something that probably Nathaniel wants to capitalize off of, because they are definitely one of the more faster side of players on the spectrum. They can definitely nail some very speedy patterns when needed. But Mini Egg is not too far behind from Nathaniel when it comes to the speed performance of some of these charts. I mean, we did see in Rice 4 that Mini Egg was pretty much staying really close to Nathaniel when it comes to the speed caliber, and I believe Nathaniel had the better ratio by only about 2,300. So these ratios are dangerously close.
For sure. So can Nathaniel answer back, or will Mini Egg pick up the first break point in this match and really put a wrench in things? Nathaniel didn't load in, so probably gonna call a mulligan on this one very early on. So I imagine something wasn't right there, but thankfully caught it early. Oh, okay, so okay, so I guess the keybinds that they use for, I guess, getting around are different. So, like I mentioned, start of the map, so call a bit of a mulligan on that and can go again, just really wanting to make sure the players are really ready here. I mean, to be fair, these two know each other pretty well. I think their country compatriots have competed with each other, now competing against each other, so I'm pretty sure they both understand.
Yeah, they were teammates for the One Key World Cup, and then they were also, I believe if I'm correct, teammates on the big stage, the Oceania 4Key Mania World Cup 2024. I believe both these players were present on the United Kingdom. So definitely have some chemistry, but now you have to basically face your own friends here. As I just realized, this top 4 that we currently have, 75% of them are from the UK.
Yeah, they have some really talented players on their shores, and seeing 2 of them here now as we get this map underway. The introduction handled beautifully by both players, just alternating roles across the hands. Nothing too difficult in the caliber of play that these two can experience. It's really just keeping the ratios neat and tidy. And right now, Nathaniel on that 100%, climbing back up to it. Very rare we see stuff like that, but starting to pick up a couple 300s. Mini Egg not too far behind, but starting to lag behind in terms of picking up 200s here and there, trying to keep themselves afloat. Only about 3 times behind, still within striking distance, only a 4,000 point cushion, but Mini Egg finds the first drop.
Yeah, that is definitely not what you want to look for. And that was a not bad of a break, but still that was a break. And seeing how consistent Nathaniel's being on the chart, they are still hanging around that 99.9 range. As like you mentioned, they were on a 100% run for quite a bit. I believe they were down to a 99.99, but they climbed up to 100. And now entering the first break and the only break they'll be getting in this map. This is some building grounds to reach that 400 combo mark, but you need to up that accuracy, and you still have map to go to pull it off. Just can you hold on to these anchors fairly well and not trip up is the question. They're slowly starting to claw back this lead. What you need to see at this point a break from Nathaniel. But they've been so consistent throughout this entire chart. Unless like a hardware issue happens, it doesn't look like it's going to be happening because Nathaniel, rarely you see them even drop a 300 on this chart, and they are starting to just cruise along through this chart. And as we near the final seconds of the map, I'm pretty sure just as long as they keep up with this consistency, they have pretty much secured it. Even Minieg's best efforts not going to be enough here, and Nathaniel going to tie things up at 1. It's now a best of 9. 998!
That is a disgusting score. 58! We're talking about this map peaks at what, like 540, 550 BPM on some of those trills? But that being said, I mean, what a performance to be able to crank that out on demand. They'll probably say it's like, well, it's just jump trill with some jacks in between. So, to be fair, this is arguably one of the strongest maps that Nathaniel could have gone for. And what a response to dropping that first point to Minieg. God, what else can you say?
Yeah, you can't really say much when you just set that as a score, but Minieg, even despite that miss, they did pull off a 981k with a very solid 200 count.
Yeah.
So I think Minieg's goal here is try to just catch up Nathaniel on some of these charts, get them to miss or find just some nasty judgments, and then just try to capitalize off of that and pray that you stay ahead in the accuracy range. And this is now Minieg's turn to pick. They could stay in that rice range, or maybe try to maybe press their luck on maybe one of the hybrids, or maybe probably not the LM seemingly banned, LM3, but it's either going to be probably a rice or a hybrid, or they could go for that second speed pick. Who knows? A lot. And they're going to go for rice too.
Alrighty, so sticking to their guns, going for those rice picks. I mean, able to stand toe-to-toe with Nathaniel in terms of ratio. It's not that far off. If they can keep the 200 count low, maybe, as you mentioned, just try and stay within striking distance and hope to catch a mistake out from Nathaniel. If they can keep their runs clean, focus on their own performance, then, I mean, this map pool is wide open for them. But for right now, gonna opt for one of the shorter maps in this pool, only a minute 30 seconds, so mistakes going to be amplified way more than some of the longer picks in this pool.
Yeah, and this is probably what Minieg is trying to go for. Trying to go for the maps that are short and sweet, seeing if Nathaniel is going to trip up on some of these patterns. And I mean, this map is fairly tricky. There are lots of times where you're coordinating very uncomfortable trills, and then some very fast mini jacks that peak at 284 BPM. There is a lot being thrown at you in only just slightly above a minute 30. So you don't really have much breathing room for misses or any bad judgment, really. And as long as Minieg can keep control, if Nate ever does find like any drop, then Minieg can definitely take a point in their field of range. But I don't know, this is pretty much can go either way depending on how they do. But here we go, underway with the chart.
Yeah, and this feels like a slower paced version of Beyond from earlier with regards to some of these single stroke rolls going into the 2-note chord transitions, and there is very little separating them as they already cross into the second third of the chart. It is going to continue on from here. Some of these structures get a little bit more dense in terms of the speed to which you need to be able to bounce off your keys, but both of them up to the task, only separated by about a tenth and a half. As we continue on, third of the map left to go, 3,000 points to cushion for Nathaniel. As we continue on, both players holding on to the FC, but the 300 count starts to rain down 200s as well, and they trade. They're now dead even going into the last quarter here. Both FC still on the board. They're playing tug of war with this leaderboard, and Mini Egg is pulling ahead here by the narrowest of margin, but 50 starting to rain down from Mini Egg. They start to break towards the end of the chart, not able to see it through to the very end. But oh my goodness, the pressure they were putting on Nathaniel, just not enough to see it through to the end, and Nathaniel going to get the first break point in this match.
Yeah, just in the blink of an eye, that lead went from being in the triple digits in Mini Egg's favor to the 5 digits in Nathaniel's favor as it came down to the ending. Maybe even nerves probably got the best of Mini Egg, but either way, this is what I meant. This is what I meant by Mini Egg. They are just behind from Nathaniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those where it's like they're able to keep pace, and I mean that's the risk you take with some of these shorter maps. It's like they were able to hang on there. They were starting to take the advantage. They had the lead for a good portion of that chart towards the end, going into the last quarter. But when you do find that drop, just a singular misread, the pattern structures towards the end, you're seeing those rolls into the doubles, and then transitioning right into another jump similar to that. It just became too much at the end, and the risk that you take going for it doesn't pay off at the very end. So close to getting it, but unfortunately coming up short there.
So close, and got so far, but then that break. And I mean, this is what I was talking about. Nathaniel practically a man of steel on some of these charts, but Mini Egg, just as long as they can stay a few hundred points behind Nathaniel, and Nathaniel finds any sort of mess up, Mini Egg will try to capitalize off of that at any given point. So both these players have to be on their toes at every given moment. They cannot mess up once. Everything needs to be on time and on point for both these players, or else it spells the end for them. And Nathaniel gonna try to capitalize off of their breakpoint. Gonna go for LN1. Gonna see if they can increase that lead to 3-1. While Mini Egg gonna try to take a breakpoint. And I mean, Mini Egg has been shown to be dominant on LNs. They are a pretty LN focused player. And I mean, so does Nathaniel as well. Pretty much any of these maps are pretty comfortable in Nathaniel's field of range. But Mini Egg definitely does a tad bit better on the LN margin of things. But we're going to have to see how it goes here.
Yeah, very much up to the task, and perhaps Nathaniel feeling a little bit emboldened by that breakpoint to venture into the LNs, but finding the first slider break on the transition into the second quarter of the chart, going to give Mini Egg a bit of a cushion to work with, especially because of the fact that they're up over that 400 combo cap. Some elongated anchors on the one hand, with the LNs starting to come through, and the slider breaks trading between the two players. Mini Egg comes out ahead in the exchanges, still holding on to the lead and the accuracy advantage as well. 6,000 points now as both players start to climb back up.
Yeah, no harm, no foul with those missed trades. And now, even though this lead of accuracy is in Mini Egg's favor by just 0.03%, it's just the fact that their combo cap is a bit higher than Nathaniel's. But Nathaniel hits the 400 combo cap, but Mini Egg still has that accuracy lead. Just as long as they stay above Nathaniel in the range of accuracy, they could potentially start bringing this back. But there's a 200. This is getting way too close for comfort. That lead is going to start to shrink in just a tad bit when Mini Egg is holding on for dear life. There's the accuracy drop that drops them below Nathaniel, but there's a drop from Nathaniel, and that will increase that lead by Mini Egg to 10,000 points. As we are reaching the final quarter of the map, there's not much left. Just as long as Mini Egg keeps their consistency, there's another break for insurance for Mini Egg, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say 20,000 points, just as long as they can keep this keep this insanely good combo they've been building up, they should be okay.
Yeah, an eighth of the map left to go. A couple of misses in the back pocket. A healthy cushion for them. One of the strongest leads they've had so far this match. And looking like they're going to be able to see it through. Had a bit of a nervy moment. Started to find a couple of 200s, but able to see it through. Powered through that midsection. And just equalize the match. Get that breakpoint right back. Restore the parity. And make this essentially a best of 7 now.
Yeah, like I said, you cannot take your foot off of the pedal as Nathaniel found those slider breaks, found those breaks, and Mini Egg took that to their advantage and takes a break point on their side now, tying things up at 2, like you said, and it is their pick of the litter. They can continue with these LN picks if they really want to, as now they have a bit of insider's knowledge on how Nathaniel does on LN. But that was the more release LN, the more release-based timing pick, as I believe LN2 is a bit more physical than anything. They could also dive down into the hybrids and find the more LN-based hybrid, but we're gonna have to see what Mini Egg opts to go for. Or, like you said, stick to their guns and pick another Rice, but we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, it's one of those where normally I would say yes, stick to the guns, go for the Rice, but the last two remaining are the most, dare I say, standard picks in this pool. Rice 1 just being like plain Jane 1/4 with a bit more BPM than last round, and Rice 3 just an anchor fest historically through these map pools, and I feel like both those play into Nathaniel's hands way more than they do with Mini Egg, where it's like, yes, they'd be able to withstand and hold on to maybe a full combo, but the ratio difference between the two of them on those two picks might be a little bit of a deterrent as we wait for their pick to come out. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw LN2. Oh,
Rice 3!
Rice 3? Forget what I said.
Oh,
they're up to the task.
I don't know how to feel about this, as, like you mentioned, anchor fest of a pick. But Nathaniel, historically, one of the most dominant Jack-oriented players in this tournament, and just worldwide when it comes to anything, when it comes to vertical scrolling rhythm games, Nathaniel has pretty much claimed the crown of basically just nailing any form of Jack that gets thrown at them. But like we've said throughout throughout this match, if one mistake happens on the side of Nathaniel, Mini Egg will take that in their own hands. But we are nearing the 200 BPM barrier with these Jacks. These are almost 200 BPM anchors.
It's like, yes, a light warm-up. That's how it feels like watching these players. It's like, yes, a nice stroll through the park. Finally, I am being lightly tested. But I'm sure they're putting in max effort trying to make sure that they keep those ratios down. It's just, as a spectator, can't help but be in awe of what they can do sometimes. But 198 BPM, like you mentioned, starting to a little fast. Little bit, tad bit. See if this gamble pays off for Mini Egg, or if Nathaniel continues the streak of breakpoints, currently one apiece between each other, kind of handshaking the last two picks. As we continue on, now effectively a best of 7, players tied 2-2 now.
And here we go underway with Rice 3. Like I mentioned, and like we both mentioned, Anchor Fest, filled to the brim with Jacks, and nearing the 200 BPM mark, it's just going to come down to who has the better ratio, honestly. And, I mean, there's pretty much... Oh, but there's an early break from Mini Egg. I was about to say, when it comes to ratio, pretty much speak no more than Nathaniel, but they're actually rushing a bit more, and there's a nasty break. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, massive column rush on the right hand, maybe just rushing the sequence a little bit, and with maps this fast, with these anchors coming down as quickly as they are, you mess up early in that, you kiss that entire string goodbye. And we saw some pretty nasty exchanges between the two players. Mania coming out ahead in the exchanges at the end of the day as we take a bit of a break. Going into the second third of the chart now, 22,000 points to the good is Mini Egg. You're going to see a recurring theme of those streams begin to come down before too long.
Yeah, this is pretty much exactly what Mini Egg has been wanting. Like I mentioned throughout this entire match, at any given moment, if Nathaniel finds a break, Mini Egg will do everything in their power to try to keep it in their lane. And I mean, they have 20,000 points to keep in their lead right now, and they only have a third, now leaning towards a quarter left to go. And there's a break for Mini Egg, but Nathaniel trades it back, and that was a lot nastier of a break than what Mini Egg had. And now Mini Egg is taking this into their own hands, 35,000 and growing. As Nathaniel finds more breaks, you'd reckon maybe that stamina component is starting to kick in, as this is pretty much the peak of these jacks coming in the way. Nathaniel starting to really, starting to burn out. Are they single tapping?
Yes, they are a single tapper. That's the one thing I forgot. This is a BPM that I don't think they can withstand. I think we have finally found the limit to how fast somebody can single tap without absolutely destroying their wrists. It is 200 BPM, and
okay.
I take back what I said about Rice 3 being a Nathaniel pick. I completely forgot that they single tap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more or less surprised that Nathaniel can single tap all the way up to the finals.
Yeah.
Where this is the second to last map pool of this tournament, and you're still single tapping some of the fastest maps we have to offer. And I don't know if Mini Egg's a single tapper as well. I don't know if they single tap.
I'd be terrified if they were.
Maybe they go back and forth. Maybe they single tap what's in their comfort range, and then they start to alternate when it gets a little bit too fast for their comfort range. I have zero idea. Maybe they're gonna have to, say if they do that or not. But I know Nathaniel has gone on the record to say that they do single tap, and Nathaniel's gonna opt for the other speed map, which is Speed 2, and we got confirmation that Mini Egg does in fact alternate, so that can definitely. So that definitely explains as to why they've been holding on pretty well throughout that chart. I don't think anyone in this world can fluently jack 200 BPM unless
you'd have to be on something.
Yeah,
you'd have to get tested afterwards if you can single tap at 200 BPM. Like I said, I completely forgot for a moment that Nathaniel does single tap in this tournament. So, like I said, my prediction about Rice 3 just completely wrong, but that's behind us now. We're on to Speed 2, something a little bit more, maybe more up their alley with regards to overall structure. They don't have to worry about these insanely long, speedy, anchored one-column streams.
And here we go underway with Speed 2. Nathaniel trying to tie things up at 3 and make things a best of 5 situation. And I mean, this is kind of the part of the tournament where the part of the match where it really does matter, where you need to start winning on your own picks. As Mini Egg, if they take a break point off this and they capitalize off of their break point, that will take them to a match point situation. And I mean, as it stands, this is the faster speed pick where it really gets dense. And I think Nathaniel, just as long as they can keep that consistency, it's pretty much in their favor. And Mini Egg finds an early break. Nothing too much to worry about, but still, that was a pretty nasty break from Mini Egg.
Yeah, dropping them down into that low 99% range gives Nathaniel a bit of a cushion to work with. But I mean, this has been the strategy for Mini Egg so far in this match, or what has worked out for them so far, is just being able to stay within striking distance of Nathaniel on the picks that they don't go into willingly, and trying to capitalize on any potential mistakes the few times that they do come through. But for right now, this is very much, while it is fast, it is definitely in the wheelhouse of Nathaniel. The anchored sections where you're constantly just hammering down on one hand aren't long enough and aren't dense enough to offer the same amount of discomfort as Rice 3 did, even though this is essentially 300 BPM. I think that's where this maxes out at once you account for maybe like the 1/6 and 1/8 patterning in this. It was a little bit faster in some parts, but overall still very much manageable in comparison to Rice 3 and Nathanial showing a 99.8 going into the last third here. Not really much Mania can do, but still in with a chance if they can hang on here.
Yeah, Miniag has been trying to catch up that accuracy. Right now, 99.5 for them, around nearly 14,000 points in Nathaniel's favor. Now you get a little bit of a break to see how your opponent is doing, and Miniag probably going to dial in for this final quarter of the map. Nathaniel, part with confidence knowing that they are ahead by quite a hefty amount, but they cannot take their foot off the gas. They need to continue doing what they do best, and I mean, just as long as they can hold on, no silly breaks, and Nathaniel has it, but we are reaching the final section of the map. These trills really raining down now. Even with both these players absolutely nailing them, Nathaniel finds a 200, but it's not really going to matter. Miniac trades some back, and as this map kind of increases in their bursts at the end, it's really just going to come down to if anyone breaks here, it could be detrimental. Here come the double jacks, and it looks like it's not going to happen. Everyone fluently getting past that, even with Nathaniel rushing that ending, it's not going to matter, and they tie things up at 3.
That is a awful ending. The fact that both of them can make it through that with only a couple of just hanging on for dear life with the hundreds and a couple of 200s, and it's so easy at that last section when everything compresses to like 1/6, 1/8, doubles into those alternating streams. It is the tendency to want to double tap. Literally all of that section is so high to be able to maintain the consistency through it. Hats off. Like that 960, 980, insane scores.
He can't keep getting away with single tapping these maps. How do you do it?
Practice. I think that's the answer that goes both ways. Just practice.
Well, you have to hit a limit at some point, right?
Yeah, we saw it. Rice 3. That's the limit.
That was 200 BPM. This is like 300.
Yeah, but the style of the pick.
Yeah,
that's just jump trill. 300 BPM jump trill, easy. 200 BPM elongated anchors. Okay,
that's like
ask me to hit 8 notes in a row. Gotcha. Ask me to hit 9. You're insane.
That's like doing 300 BPM trills is basically just 150 on both hands.
Exactly. And I imagine that's how they managed to structure it in their head. It's like, oh, this is just 150 BPM split jump trill, and everything clicks, and it's like, oh, okay, perfect, I got this, and they just go.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing how both of these players have more of a 4-key origin than maybe, playing in the more interesting 1-key or 2-key. I know both these players played in 1-key World Cup, but maybe they just, I mean, not that hard to, maybe Nathaniel did the old classic, just put your left and right index finger on the space bar and just use that.
Yeah.
And never alternated fingers.
Like 2-finger versus 4-finger, like 6-finger styles.
Yeah.
Where you're like brushing for those intense rolls, but that's something we can ask them later with regards to how they managed to get through the faster picks in 1-key. But Miniac gonna go for LN2 to round out that pool. LN3 did get banned, so last LN pick of this match, tied up 3-3, essentially a best of 5 now between the two players.
Yeah, and this is definitely a map and a half. This is the almighty, I would say the dense LN pick, and look at the mapper.
Yeah,
I'm gonna repeat my words for about the upteenth time. When it comes to Niv mapping, they always step out of the comfort zone and do things about half a step higher. and just try to be as experimental as possible with how they can chart this chart maps. We've seen it a lot throughout these matches as Niv has mapped a good chunk of these map pools, and almost about every map has definitely have some sort of tricky concept that kind of gets turned up to about 100.5. And I mean, you can kind of already feel from the song, honestly, on how you're going in. I can definitely see the density going on with these LN picks. It's more or less just how Niv charted it, and they tend to map a bit more release-oriented LN and timing. That's what they prioritize a bit more, so I can only imagine this is testing both how well you can time and release and how fast you can play LNs. And there's an early break from Nathanial.
Yeah, it does get a little bit tricky, and I feel like releasing early, bouncing off these longer holds in these structures is going to be the name of the game, as Nathaniel picks winner slider break. Again, just the longer tail LNs being the undoing there during that section, but a bit of a break now for them to rebuild some of their accuracy. Maniac not that far ahead, just about 0.2%, but the miss is going to start doing some damage here because of the fact that they're above that 400 combo cap. 13,000 points to the good as it stands.
Yeah, you do get a bit of a break section. Definitely a point where Nathaniel can climb over that 400 combo cap, but it has been in Miniac's favor in both accuracy and combo. But as I say that, there's a drop from Miniac, but they still have the accuracy by just about 200%, and that lead is starting to shrink in as Nathaniel starts to run away with this combo, but Miniac is not far behind from that 400 combo cap. It's starting to shrink in even more now as Nathaniel starting to take that accuracy. Both slider break at nearly the exact same note, but if we're being technical, Nathaniel has like a 2 combo lead over Miniac and still has that accuracy lead. If this map continues on, and there's another break from Miniac, it's still at their lead somehow, but it's gonna switch over at any minute now.
Yeah, Nathaniel's really starting to pull away in terms of the accuracy. A full 10th now ahead, and now equalizing the slider break misadvantage. Another break from Maniac, traded back this time by Nathaniel, but still staying ahead in terms of the accuracy. 2,000 points. It is teetering on a knife's edge once again, going into the last stage. Nathaniel with the slider break going into the outro here. Maniac back in the driver's seat, 4,000 points. Can they hang on? The break, but Nathaniel finds the last one.
And I think it's safe to say that's the final nail in the coffin as they drop down to the 98s, and Miniac is going to take this and make things 3-4.
Oh, that was very heart and mouth moments there towards the end. As I mean, it's just the the unfamiliarity with the chart sometimes, or just some of those sequences. As we mentioned, it's like Niv able to toe a line here with how they structure some of these LN charts being the undoing for Nathaniel at the end of the day. And as we move on to Nathaniel's next pick, second to last one for them, what will they opt to go for here? Speed picks are done. I think the most difficult map for them is out of the way as well in Rice 3. None of the hybrids have been touched so far.
Yeah, I think it's either you go for Rice 1 or you start digging into those hybrids. And I think if I'm Nathaniel, I'd probably stick to my guns. They have won, I believe, nearly every single Rice pick outside of Rice 3. And I could definitely see Circus Gallop as probably their kind of last resort. And also, what? We have Circus Gallop in the map pool?
Yeah.
Legendary song. Kudos to Iron for mapping it.
Honestly. Kudos to all these mappers putting the time in to get this pool out. These are some really good songs to set the tone for this finals weekend. But for right now, waiting on Nathaniel to choose the next bop for us to listen to. The next 2 to 3 minutes of torture for the players as well. Presumably the distance here.
I really want to see Hybrid 3 get picked because I absolutely love Steege as an artist. Niv definitely deserves an award for probably expanding the most music taste for the players and the mappers and for everybody. And oh my There it is!
Gonna go for hybrid 3, so you get to listen to Thursday. Gonna listen to some Steege here.
Also known as Genghis, if you're a bit more... because I know some players have also charted Siege maps, but under the alias of Genghis, so... We get to see...
No, they don't know the map, they're just trusting you. They heard you. They're like, I got you, fam. Oh, and this one, again, playing with the fire of these short charts. A minute and 12, unbeknownst to them probably, the map length, but it's gonna be one of those blink and you miss type of beats where any mistake could potentially swing this one way or the other. But we start seeing trades, it's gonna be impossible to call towards the end.
And I mean, the pattern of Steege songs, they're not very long. As you can see, only a minute 12 to work with, and I would... yeah, you don't really have much, so it's pretty much a blink and you'll miss type map, and Nathanial needs to win this pick. This is, like you mentioned, their second to last pick of the litter, and this is... Oh, but there's an early slider break from Mini Egg, and even that could have just settled the deal, but I mean, this map is pretty jam-packed with density, so even with that, maybe if, like, that was pretty early on, but, I mean, that was a pretty huge accuracy drop from Mini Egg.
Yeah, it's the road to recovery that they need to embark on that's really costing them some points here. Every 10th that they climb up, and the little tidbit of SV, that little Niv spice there. Not afraid to put the SV in the conventional picks. It doesn't catch either players out, but I'm pretty sure if you're sirening that for the first time, you're gonna have some words because you're not expecting stuff like that. But thankfully not so aggressive that it throws off your timing. As we continue on here, a quarter of the map left to go. Nathaniel still on that FC run, 99.7% accuracy for them. Mini Egg back up into the 99% mark as well, but 16,000 points behind. Not a lot of cushion for them to make up here as they find another slider break here at the ending. That's going to be the final nail in the coffin. Nathaniel going to make this 4-4.
Oh my goodness, Are we going? You know what? Nope. I'm gonna shut up.
We're not saying it now. We've done this before. We've been here before.
Not gonna finish my sentence. I'm just gonna let the match play out. I'm not gonna. This is like the equivalent of playing Stairway to Heaven in a Guitar Center. Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. Don't play Smells Like Teen Spirit. Resist the urge. Stop that. Get some help. But Mini Egg up to pick their final pick in this match. Gotta make it count. Can leave no room for error. Do not leave that window of opportunity open for Nathaniel to try and usurp this at the end. When all is said and done, what do they opt to go for here? Two hybrids. Honestly, Rice 1.
Honestly, I could see this is the point in the map where they start to whip out the exclamation mark roll. Since they just don't know what to go for.
Honestly, sometimes.
I mean, when in doubt, just leave it up to luck.
Yeah. If you feel that all three, like if there's downsides to all of them, just the best choice is no choice. Just blame the roll if it doesn't work out. But I feel like they have something in this pool that they can maybe lean on. But
I mean, I have heard, if this is the Circus Gallop that I know, that and Kamui, those are the only two songs I know left. Hybrid 2 and Rice 1. I know, like, the song structure. Circus Gallop has definitely some very interesting bursty sections that I guess when the piano just absolutely cranks it up a few notches, and Kamui has that all too familiar section in the ranked version. If you play the ranked 4-key version, it has those very funny trills with like the LNs on the outer side. I wonder if Iron went off of the same, kind of took inspiration from that, and kind of just maybe kind of charted it in the way that I could probably assume it would probably work for 2-key, but we're gonna have to see. Mini Egg still waiting for a pick.
Yeah, I feel like this is the most important pick in this match. It is the final one. You don't want to give Nathanial a break point going into their pick.
And that was already been picked.
That's wait, what?
That was already picked.
I was about to like start going into like, oh yeah, hybrid 3. No, not 3. Not 43 either.
Not 43. Hybrid
2.
43.
It's Kamui. Okay, we're going for Kamui.
Alright, so Kamui gonna get the pick here. And I mean, this map, like I said, if Iron kind of went off of the flow of how the ranked map was, then it could definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
But I could also interpret other ways on how this map could have been charted. Iron kind of in the same field and range as Niv. They tend to take
harder end of the spectrum.
Yeah, they more focus on trying to make the map extremely difficult than experimenting around with, like, maybe the snappings or maybe mainly like maybe snappings or just how you could kind of experiment to kind of just make it harder without just making it physically demanding. But Iron definitely tries to make things as physically demanding as possible. But here we go with Kamui. This definitely has some interesting sections. I feel like that burst section near the end section, or like where the song has a little burst near the final part, is definitely could be a tripping point. But Minieg's final pick of this match gonna be Hybrid 2. Here we go, tied at 4 apiece. Oh, there's an early drop from Minieg, and that was a pretty bad accuracy drop as well.
Yeah, not answered back by Nathanial this time around. Just shy of 2 minutes. We're still teetering with, we're still playing with that short map length double-edged sword as Minieg finds another couple of slider breaks here going into the real chorus of the chart. Not even getting into that breakdown section that we're thinking might be harkening to the 4-key map, but Nathaniel finding a trade in return. Still 20,000 points to the good as we get into this section. It's just a really long roll with the LNs, the double transition with the LNs, not tripping up either of the players. A couple of challenges coming through, but both of them able to survive. Minieg finding another break going into the back half of the chart, going to help expand this lead for Nathaniel. And with half the map still left to go, they're a full percent behind. Going to need a collapse from Nathaniel here to try and make some inroads in this lead. But so far, Nathaniel has been as just a cool customer so far through this chart, able to muscle their way through some of the harder patterns in this map as Minieg finds yet another slider break. Now 40,000 points behind with a quarter of the map left to go here.
Well, some nasty flams, but even just a few 200s from Nathaniel, that's all you're going to get from them on those flams, as Minieg still finding some combo breaks. But I mean, when you're this late into the chart, there's nothing really you can do. And honestly, as the final mini Jackson trills come in, Nathaniel on a break point and a match point situation for them, as this is the last pick of the match. Are we going to see Hybrid 1 or Rice 1? And a 979k FC. Is that an FC or did they slider break?
Slider break.
Okay, so a no miss is what I thought. Okay, I generally thought both these players tied in ratio.
They did if you're dyslexic. No, they did if you have dyscalculia.
Yeah, dyscalculia. I think I might have a case of dyscalculia.
Word of the day today, dyscalculia. The numbers equivalent to dyslexia.
Nathaniel left the match.
Yeah, I think Nathaniel probably restarting their client once again, just wanting to make sure nothing gets in the way of trying to... He's gone, I win!
Yeah, close it down. Minieg wins. Off to winners grand finals.
It's like a boxing match. You can get rocked for 11 rounds, if you land that knockout punch or that person gets tired and falls over on the 12th round, you win anyways. Hybrid 1.
And he's back. Hybrid 1. Gonna be the pick. Maybe just... Oh, maybe just checking their local scores, possibly, just to see what they do better on.
Yeah.
That would definitely make the most logical sense, and... Well, you have to go with the 4-minute map.
It's like the tiebreaker. It's essentially the tiebreaker.
Yeah, essentially. If this were a Zubin match, he would opt for DT.
Yeah, to make it shorter, make it faster, get it over with faster.
Yes. But this title definitely lives up to its name. This is, in fact, the ultimate battle.
Ooh, this has been much closer than even I was anticipating in terms of overall expectations, perceived expectations going into this match. Just all logic defied with regards to overall performance. Just clutch performances left and right from both the players. Some heart-and-mouth moments, some intense exchanges, all culminating into... God, what is this background? I love it.
Car crash. A bunch of seals.
It's a car crash of a background.
Not the seals!
They'll be fine. They're invincible. As we get this map underway, a gauntlet has been thrown, the longest map outside of the tiebreaker in this map pool. Both players gonna need to go through this. Who will come out on top at the end? They both have the capability of swinging out a massive performance, but Miniag on the inverse LN section, finding the slider break to give Nathaniel a bit of a cushion to work with here. Another one as well, maybe just having a bit of a hard time managing some of the release elements. It's very easy to want to bounce off the keys a little bit too soon when you're having to do inverse like that, but Nathaniel going to take that and run with it to a 10,000 point advantage before the first quarter is even done.
Yeah, they have a pretty comfortable lead, but I mean, this song is 4 minutes long, so definitely one of the rare occasions we have in these maps where if you get out your misses early, you definitely have lots of time to recover, so it's not the biggest... Oh, but now that, as I say that, Midian finds a couple more drops. That's not going to really give them much of a benefit, but they still have 3/4 of the map to recover that accuracy. And Nathaniel finds a break to trade it, but that was a really clean break. They still are in the 99.6 range.
Yeah, gonna be able to make up the little point loss. It's still about, what, 6,000 points that they lost there? And Maniac started to claw back some of the deficit by virtue of being above that 400 combo cap, just able to chip away here and there, just taking pop shots at that lead. If they can start to build up their accuracy once again, get back up to maybe like that 99.3, 99.4 range, still plenty of time to do it. They can start being in that position that they've found themselves in throughout this match where just waiting, just biding their time to catch Nathaniel out. And with a map as long as this is their best opportunity to put that plan into full effect, despite Nathaniel holding on to this 13,000 point lead with half the map still left to go.
Yeah, but here come, past the pretty awkward release sections, here come some 175 BPM jacks with some anchors. And, yeah, Nathaniel single tapping this doesn't surprise me. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but here comes some full inverse, some LN walls, if you can say, if you may. But Maniac getting caught up on it. This is what they've been getting caught up on this entire map. But Nathaniel breaks.
Yeah, the release elements of those sections cannot be overstated. It can trip you up just a little bit enough to knock your combo out, and both of them trading, and the lead is restored to about 13,000, 14,000 points with a third of the map still left to go here. Window of opportunity starting to close ever so slightly for Miniag, but still in that position. The accuracy discrepancy has tightened up a little bit, now within 0.3%. Now they are in that position that they've wanted to be in going into this. I mean, to be fair, they would love to be in the lead, but failing that, being able to capitalize, pick up any scraps that Nathaniel leaves on the table going into this last quarter is exactly where they need to be, with everything on the line here. Last potential map before the tiebreaker. Going into this final drop, the LM starts to get real dense with regards to the timing. The LM tails get a little bit harder to read through, but Nathaniel able to read through it, not dropping, despite Miniag holding onto the combo advantage. And with an eighth of the map left to go, like I said, that window of opportunity is closing quickly.
Yeah, with every second that passes by, even with Nathaniel maybe finding some 200s on those LNs, the only saving grace for Miniag is if Nathaniel finds something on these jacks. And I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world, and as it stands, Nathaniel with a near 15,000 point lead, pretty safe to say that they're going to be taking this match 6-4, but that was by no easy task. And just like that, Nathaniel has punched their ticket into the winners grand finals and also has secured at least a silver medal.
Yeah, congratulations to them. This is, I think, the hardest they have been pushed so far this tournament. Like, kudos to Miniag. 7th seed coming in here. Some folks maybe saw this matchup and maybe discounted them, but if people have been paying attention to Miniag's performances, they are outrageously good at 2-key. And for Zubin and Basil, this is going to be your ultimate test between the two of them. Whoever wins that match, whether we get an all UK podium or if we get the 33% American going in there, it's going to be a hell of a ride for that grand finals weekend. Congratulations to Nathaniel once again securing that top 2 spot in Sparxe' 2-key event. But that will do it for us here. The final match of the weekend is upon us. It'll happen tomorrow
at 20 UTC. It's gonna be the match, a rematch of sorts as well. Zubin and Basil gonna be fighting again tomorrow at 20 UTC. Are we going to see the final US player knocked out from this tournament, or are we going to see Zubin get knocked out and Basil stay alive for the United States and punch their ticket into the top 3? Find that out tomorrow at 20 UTC. But for now, we've been commentating over at Sparxe' 2-key event presented by Joke, me, and Sparky. I don't know if we're going to be streaming Tiebreaker or ending the stream, but that's up to our streamer. Yeah, we are probably ending. Goodbye.
Yep. Bye, all.